Hey everyone, Fletcher Ellings, and welcome back to Your Life is Now. The fact that you're showing up here is significant. Showing up is the fundamental necessity of creating the life you want. So many people fail to show up for their life. Consider it. Some people sign up for a sport or a class or they've got a job or a meeting, and at some point they simply stop showing up. Stop showing up to the gym or for the meeting or for that practice, or stop showing up for their marriage or other significant relationships. Have you ever done that? You may not want to go to the gym, you may feel tired, or it may be too cold out or too early, but if you just show up, the likelihood that you'll begin to work out is pretty high, isn't it? As soon as you walk in, you see the other people, you hear the music, and you think, all right, I'll just walk on the treadmill for 10 or 12 minutes, but then what happens? The endorphins start to kick in, and 10 and 12 minutes turns into 20 or 30 minutes. Then you're warmed up and you think, I might as well just continue with my workout. You know, a few years ago, I watched the Super Bowl, and it was between the Patriots and the Falcons. And if you saw that game, you know pretty much everyone knew that the Falcons had this game in the bag. They simply were outperforming the Patriots on every front. The Falcons were up 25 points. So many people thought it was over, except for the Patriots. Tom Brady had every excuse to give up, to throw in the towel. He could have just gone through the motions and given a lackluster performance, but what happened? He and his team continued to show up play after play. They continued to believe, and as a result, they took the game into the first overtime in the history of the Super Bowl. And then they won what turned out to be a spectacular sporting event. Showing up makes the difference. Showing up is where it all starts. And you are here, so I commend you. All right, we've got some exciting ground to cover today. In the previous video, we went through the self-assessment and took a good look at our life. We also asked ourselves what the most probable outcome would be if we didn't change anything in our life. And the answer is that not only wouldn't our life improve, it would become worse. Then we looked at what would be possible if we did begin to take action, and we discovered that if we began taking actions, our life would improve. We would see progress. In fact, those actions would dramatically improve your relationships, your finances would increase. Maybe you'd be going on that vacation you wanted to go on, or perhaps you could pay down debt and get ahead. If you improved your health, maybe you'd feel better. Maybe there'd be fewer medical bills. Maybe you could move more comfortably, even with ease. Perhaps your sex life improves. Then we stood back and said, okay, I see where I am now and where I want to be. And there's a big gap in between, right? You're here, you want to be there, there's a gap in between. So the question is, how do we bridge that gap? Well, to answer that question, let's ask another question. How do other people do it? That's the critical question. How do other people do it? You see, success leaves clues, and I've made it my business to study successful people. And I've had coaches and mentors, and I've went to the courses, I've read the books and listened to the audio courses. I personally have spent tens of thousands of dollars on personal development. I know some people say, that seems crazy, right? But it has made the difference in my life. It has helped me get through dark times, and not only get through them, but turn them around and create success. As a result, I was able to massively increase my income. I was able to get out of debt. I was able to contribute more to others, able to help for my children's education. I was able to live from a place of joy and aliveness instead of from a place of fear and boredom and dread. I learned how to create my life instead of waiting for life to happen to me. My point is that personal development has made the difference. I've gone through it and spent the money, and from it all, I've been able to narrow down certain key concepts. I call them the unseen forces, and these unseen forces really do rule our every thought, decision, and action. Does that seem hard to believe? Some people will say, BS, I choose my thoughts. I make my own decisions and actions. I understand why it's easy to think that, but I want to invite you to consider that most of the time, we're on autopilot. We pretty much do the same thing every day, same routines, similar conversations, similar worries and concerns, and we get similar results. It's because we get stuck in patterns, and these patterns are a result of our beliefs, fears, and our desire for safety and certainty, which we're going to explore momentarily. So to create a fulfilling life, we have to be able to break some old patterns and ways of thinking and replace them with new beliefs, which will create new patterns. So we have to take a look at how we are wired and do some rewiring, so to speak. Does that make sense? You may be asking, it makes sense, but how do we do that? Where do we start? Good question, and we begin right now. The answer is that we're going to start with our beliefs, our core beliefs. You see, they affect our view on everything. Remember the assessment we did earlier? The results, whatever they were, high, low, or moderate, are a direct result of these unseen forces. And the first unseen force is belief. So I'm going to ask you some questions. I want you to write these down along with your answers in your journal. Okay? First off, what is a belief? What is it? It may seem kind of challenging to define. Well, the actual definition says a belief is simply a sense of certainty. A sense of certainty about something and nothing more. And the more certainty you have about something, the stronger the belief is. Let's talk about a belief that most of us had early on in childhood, right? A certain time of year, December 24th, most of us believed that there was a guy in a big red suit who would come down our chimney or through the window or through the door, something magical, and he would leave presents for us underneath the tree. So we all grew up thinking that this was actually happening. We believed, we had a sense of certainty. Now, why did we have such a high level of certainty that Santa Claus existed? It's because we had so much evidence to support it. We woke up on December 25th and there were gifts underneath the tree. There were stockings that were full, hanging on the wall or above the fireplace or whatever, right? We saw reindeer tracks outside. We had put out cookies and milk the previous night and they were gone in the morning, right? We saw Santa Claus at the mall. We saw shows about Santa Claus. We heard stories about it. We read books. We had an enormous body of evidence that said this Santa Claus guy was the real deal. He was real, right? And then what happened? We went to school and other kids started saying something about the fact that Santa Claus wasn't real. Of course, we thought that was folly. We'd come home and ask our parents and they would confirm that no, Santa Claus, of course Santa Claus is real. But what happened over time as we grew older, we'd hear more of these conversations and we might find like presents in the closet that hadn't been wrapped yet. Or we might begin to recognize the writing on the label. Or we might even hear a conversation of our parents or catch them in the act of putting the presents underneath the tree. And then what happens? We amass another body of evidence that says Santa Claus is not real, and furthermore, it's our parents. And all of a sudden, the old belief system collapses. And the new belief system is in place. And we have so much certainty about it, because there's so much evidence, that we can never go back to our former belief system. So that's an example of how beliefs are set up, how they're collapsed, and how new ones can replace them. Does that make sense? All right, so the Santa Claus example is an easy one, but let's talk about what are the beliefs in your life? On what do you believe about life? Let's get specific in our questioning because we want to get clarity around what you believe. You see, clarity equals power. The more clarity you have, the more access to power you have to create your life the way you want it. Now, number one, do you believe life is fair or unfair? Is it hard? Is it beautiful? Is it rewarding? Is it heartbreaking? Is it an adventure? What's your overall belief about life? Number two, what's your belief about your health and fitness? Do you believe you can create health and vitality, or do you believe you will always be struggling with diets and ill health? Do you believe that you'll always just be that goal of health and vitality is just always out of reach? Do you believe you'll become ill or get cancer because your family has a history of it? Do you believe you will have health and that it'll take you well into your old age? Or will your life get cut short? Number three, Let's look at your finances. What's your belief about money and how much money you can have or generate? Do you believe you'll always be struggling financially, or do you believe you'll always find a way to live the lifestyle you desire? Is money bad? Is it good? Do you believe in abundance, or do you have a scarcity mindset? Number 4, what's your belief about your job or your career? Do you believe that you're stuck? Do you believe you can't advance any higher? Do you believe you create your own opportunities or have to wait for others? And number 5, what's your belief about your ability to follow through? Do you believe you lack motivation and inspiration? Or do you believe you have an abundance of it and have the willpower and drive to achieve that which you desire? Number 6, what's your belief about your intelligence? Do you believe that you're smart, dumb, average, above average? Do you believe you learn slowly, or do you pick things up quickly? Do you believe that your intelligence is holding you back or advancing your life? Number 7, what is your belief about your age? Are you too old? Or are you too young? Are you just the right age? Do you believe that you have missed the boat, that life is passing you by? Number 8, what's your belief about your future? This is such an important question and belief. I want you to listen to your answer. Listen to it, because whatever you write down about your future is what you're likely to live into. I know it sounds crazy. If you're in this conversation, it may even sound made up or magical, but I'm here to tell you that you create your future. You create your future. So pay attention to your answer. And you can create it from a position of certainty. Remember, a belief is nothing more than certainty. Or you can create it from a position of uncertainty and ambiguity, or worse, from a position of fear. Now, here's the interesting thing about your beliefs. Most of them we did not create. Let me say that in a different way as well. Here's the interesting thing about your feelings of certainty. Most of the feelings of certainty about your life you did not create. You did not choose. Well, if you didn't, then who did? It's your parents, your school, your friends, your church, television, commercials, and of course experience. But most of your core beliefs were given to you by other people. Some of them have been wonderful and served us well, and others not so much. And here's the good news. Once we know what our beliefs are, we can learn how to obliterate the beliefs that don't serve us and replace them with beliefs that do serve us, which move us forward, creating a fulfilling life instead of trapping us in fear and self-loathing. Consider this. If your current life is largely a result of your belief systems, then what would you have to believe about yourself and the world to create your dream life? What a cool concept. Another way of asking this is, in order to create your dream life, what would you need to feel certain about in yourself? What certainty would you need to feel about the world? To have the marriage of your dreams, what would you need to believe about yourself, about your partner? What certainty would you need to be in? What certainty would need to be in place for yourself to generate the income you want to sustain your desired lifestyle? What would you need to believe about yourself and your abilities? What would you need to believe about the job itself? Or what about the job market? Do you see that you already have strong beliefs about all of these topics? Very strong. These are not just opinions, they're beliefs, strong feelings of certainty that you feel in your gut, you feel in your heart, and they affect your thinking and your decisions and your actions and give you your life results. I want to tell you something that may at first sound alarming, it may sound crazy, but stick with me. Because remember what I said earlier about successful people, they all follow the same recipe for success, all of them. And what I'm sharing with you is universal. It applies to all people, no matter the country, no matter the circumstance, so stick with me. And here's what I want you to know. What I want you to know is that these beliefs were simply made up. The same way a child makes up rules to a pretend game, these beliefs were made up. They're not laws of physics like gravity. However, people live their lives like their beliefs are absolute truths. And when you embrace the concept that every one of your beliefs has been made up, then you'll be on the journey of setting yourself free. And you'll soon realize that you can change your beliefs, actually replace old disempowering beliefs that don't serve you with empowering beliefs that move your life forward. It starts with your thinking. because everything starts with your thinking. I've seen it time and time again. I've experienced it time and time again. You know, I used to believe I was completely mediocre. I believed I could, for instance, never complete a triathlon. That was something for the elite. You had to be something special if you were in a triathlon. I had extremely strong beliefs about it. I felt absolutely certain I could never do it. But I really wanted to. And so I thought, well, maybe I could just do a short distance. So I began training. I began running and biking, and I had to learn how to swim. But I did it, and I kept at it, and I started to enjoy it. And as I began to increase my distances, a new belief system began to emerge. The belief was that maybe I could complete an Olympic distance triathlon. It's a 1-mile swim, 26-mile bike, and a 6-mile run. Maybe I could. And so I kept on until the day of the race. Oh man, I was so nervous and excited. And at last it was my turn. I heard the countdown. I dove into the water, and I was doing it. I was actually doing it. From not knowing how to swim to swimming with confidence and enjoying it. And I got out of the water, I got on my bike, and I had a strong and enjoyable ride, smiling much of the way. I was doing it. This was exciting, and it felt good. I wasn't tired, I was full of energy, and was waving to people as I rode by. I was having a great time. And then it was off the bike, and it was time to run. And I have to say, that felt really weird. My legs were so wobbly, but off I went, high-fiving the people at the water stations, and then before I knew it, I was at the finish line. I'd done it, and I had a new belief system upon crossing the finish line. I believed, or I had absolute certainty, felt certain, that I could complete an Olympic distance triathlon. In fact, it was now impossible for me to believe otherwise. Why? Because I had massive evidence that I could do it. You see, the more evidence you have for something, the more certain you feel and the stronger your belief is. I had sufficient evidence that I could complete it now and in the future. And that is how you create new beliefs. You write out the belief you want to have, then look for the evidence to support it. You get into action and you start stacking those actions as evidence in favor of the belief you want. And ultimately, the scale tips in favor of your new belief. So, the question is, what are the beliefs you need to have to live a life you love? All right, it's time to wrap this video up. You've got a bunch of actions to take. So let me know what insights you have and share them with me and share them with someone close to you. Remember, someday has arrived. Your life is now. So get out there, be a source of kindness, be a source of contribution, stay in action. Remember, someday has arrived. Your life is right now, and I believe in you.